Hey, what's up? I'm Guy.
I'm John.
This is our YouTube channel. Subscribe to it. Give this video a like.
Check out the podcast below in the description. Do it right now.
Yeah, we're jumping on the tube, John, for some breaking news. On Monday, the WFT, Washington football team, released Dwayne Haskins. Dwayne was stripped of his captaincy after he was photographed partying, girlfriend's birthday party, without a mask on, violation of the rules.
At a strip club too, right?
At a strip club, yeah. But again, these are things that in other years, it's not immaturity that gets you cut, right? And in the end, it was a lot bigger than this too for the Washington football team. I think the signs were pretty early in the Ron Rivera era that they weren't big fans of Dan Snyder's quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, I think there were question marks of him coming out in the draft. There were question marks when they were the team that picked him because it was Dan Snyder's son's friend. Then there were question marks around the league. Like a lot of people did not like him and were not going to pick him. And was the guy going to be a first-round pick? And I think it's fair to say, looking back, that that's in question. Because were the good teams in the 20s going to take this guy with some immaturity red flags coming out? He put up huge numbers at Ohio State, but I didn't know. My friends in the NFL, none of them liked him as a player. And part of being a player as a quarterback is like, you don't get to be like, no one's talking about Jamar Chase off the field. I know nothing about it. You know the reality? It doesn't matter. As long as he's not like a criminal. Like if he's a diva or whatever, like he's going top 10. Panay Sewell, like any other position, you can be great character, you can be average character. If you're an elite player, you just go. At quarterback, and we talk a lot about all these guys coming out in the draft, the Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson's already kind of, some question marks being poked and prodded. Like, it's just a reality. You see Carson Wentz, who was always viewed as a super high character guy, is like, does he practice hard enough? Does he get along with his teammates? Does guys really like it? It's part of the deal. It's why you make all that money. And the Dwayne and here's the thing, guy. The first thing that jumped off in my mind was he was relieved of his duties, cut today. Sometimes when you see a guy cut in the NFL, someone who's under contract and you just have to eat the money if you cut him, it's like had a bad DUI, got caught with drugs, hit his girlfriend, did something just like cut. I got to cut him. This is like ran out on the media, had something with his girlfriend. Ron Rivera, something happened earlier this year. It's like drip, 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 drip. While Ron Rivera named him a captain, clearly wanted to kind of uplift this kid, he was around Alex Smith, who is going to go down as like one of the all-time great NFL stories in the history of sports/humanity, and he still couldn't figure it out. Like, this is year 2, right? If it had been year 1, maybe they don't cut him because they would have drafted him, but it's pretty wild that he spent all this time around Ron Rivera and Alex and couldn't just kind of figure it out.
That's
right?
fair. And you and I have talked about this before when it comes to draft picks, is sometimes being back home is good. Sometimes being back home is not good. And who knows whether it was good or not for him. But there were some early red flags in a draft that, you're right, who knows how many of the teams would have taken him in the first round. But it's a pretty bad quarterback draft, right? After Kyler went 1, and then it was Daniel Jones. I remember people hated that pick. And then there was this pick, and people hated that pick. And there really weren't any other good quarterbacks in this draft. But the circumstances of the owner seeming to be the one to make the pick.
Because Jay Gruden was adamant he didn't want him,
Jay
right?
Gruden
That was all the stories. Yeah.
I saw PFT commenter had a great tweet today. Did you see that? There was a quote from somebody that said, it was like an anonymous quote from the draft room, from the war room. Like, I wanted to barf in the war room watching Dan Snyder make that pick. And his retweet was like, everyone knows it's real man doesn't barf in the war room. You can't barf in the war room. Like, that was a good tweet. But at the time, it was clearly a reach. And then he went to an organization that it's pretty impressive that Ron Rivera and Alex Smith have this organization on the verge of winning 7 games and going to the playoffs, as like the minority owners try to rip the team away from Dan Snyder. So then he has the draft day. It's a dysfunctional organization is my point. He's got the draft day thing where he has the bowling alley party. They charge $50. I went back and read, there was an old article, not old, it's 2019, pre-draft. One of the writers that covers the Giants tried to do a big piece, or maybe covers Washington, I don't know, tried to do a big piece, had a really weird interaction with Dwayne's dad. One thing I didn't realize going back and reading more about the bowling alley draft day party was a production of Haskins and Haskins, like this company that his family had formed, right? So I went to the Haskins and Haskins website, John.
What was the get-in price of the door?
$50 to get in.
Yeah.
So I went to the Haskins and Haskins, entertainment company website, and it's expired. Right? You can GoDaddy.com. No one's been paying for that website. So the point is, it was not the right place for him. Like going to
like a poor man's big baller brand.
Yes, they never even got the shoes into production. Never even faked the shoes. But everyone that had that worked for the company had hats and T-shirts. Of course, it's the first thing you do is make a logo, get a hat and a T-shirt. But my point is, what I'm saying is, for him to have a chance, the Washington football team was not the place for him to go. Like, he needed to go to a place that had an established culture, that had a clear hierarchy, that could help him with, I think it's clear, the maturity issues. But now to your point, but hold on, now he had a year with Ron Rivera, who clearly has his act together, because, again, he has willed, while fighting cancer and playing a quarterback that came off basically a war leg explosion injury. He has willed this organization. Now, you can say the NFC East sucks. It does, but forget about winning, going to the. They have a chance at 7 wins this week.
Yeah, they win, they get in.
All the excuses gone.
I mean, they win, they get in. The division sucks, but they win, they get in. I mean, I think they've had an incredible year given the circumstances, right?
Absolutely, they have.
That's where I push back.
No, you're right. I'm with you.
I agree. Last year, the head coach hates you. He does not want you. The team, there's all this craziness, awful situation. The moment Ron shows up, who dealt with, and it turns out like he just let Cam be Cam. Ron actually is a little more like liberal than I think people think in terms of just letting his players be his players, right? He really just, as long as Cam produce, like, be you, bro. Because you know what? At the end of the day, before Ron became a coach, you know what he was? He was a player, right? I actually think he does a really good job of kind of being known as this hard ass. And they did that Amazon, basically Hard Knocks version of Amazon. But there was a good balance of like, he motherfuck you, but he also like, God, this guy is pretty cool. Like, he would have guys. It was just very, very impressive. He's a really high level guy. When I think of just ultimate respect guys in the league, he's got to be up there. You could argue this year with fighting cancer, he might be one. And Dwayne, he made this guy the starter. Alex, who was already there, had nothing to do with Ron, like just around him every day. I don't know. Like, if I was a team, there are going to be a large percentage of teams that had him really late, that wouldn't have drafted him, might have had him like in the first or second round, but never were going to pick him, one of those. That now it's just they wouldn't touch him with a 10-foot pole. Then there are going to be another percent of teams. So if that's 60, 70% of the teams, I'd add another then 20% that are like, yeah, we don't. Maybe we're buddies with Ron. He's like, bro, I don't have the time. Not worth it. Then there's going to be a couple teams, maybe like Seattle. Pete is consistently shown over the years he does not give a shit. And then the elephant in the room would be Gruden. I mean, John Gruden. But just talking about that, Jay, his brother, hated him. So I don't know, man. I mean, that was a connection that, I mean, Jay hated him, guy. Hated him. So maybe this guy's just out of the league. I would never say that like in concrete, like he maybe will get another shot or get a workout. He'll get workouts or whatever, but he's going to go away for a little while. And it's his own undoing, right? Because it was stupid stuff. It wasn't like,
yeah, but
he was financing a drug ring,
But he might not be good enough. That's the other part of it.
He threw 3 picks yesterday against Carolina, who's pretty terrible.
Yeah, but I mean, to me, like when I watch him, I've seen better than what I ever saw from Paxton Lynch, who was 2 active years and done. I remember we saw Paxton Lynch at a joint practice with the 49ers and watched him in practice. Just went, the other guy's better, and the other guy was Trevor Siemian. And this
guy does have a pretty big arm when he lets it rip. Watching him make a couple throws yesterday, I don't know if he knows where it's going, but he's big. I mean, you just see some talent there.
And even
you don't
Paxton,
just get talent individual.
Yeah, like to me, Paxton Lynch ended up signed with the Seahawks as a free agent. Got 4 months basically got 5 months with them before they actually had to make a roster. and then was a Steelers practice squad guy for a month.
He got cut though because he sucked, not because he was.
Yeah, no, I know. That's what I'm saying. It's like, so if Paxton can get a practice squad, I think guys are more likely to work somebody out who they think has talent.
No, he'll get workouts eventually. This could just be one of those wham bam boom, he's gone. And unlike the NBA, like you can go play in Europe or something, like there just aren't other options, right?
The spring league.
But wasn't that in the fall?
Well, no, it was just going on, but maybe it ended.
So, I mean, I guess The Rock bought the AAF for peanuts. Maybe he could, like, if stuff like that happens and he's out of the league, like he's got to play in that. He would be like their number one option for sure.
But you're not set up for success at that. You're just not.
Yeah, but it's just I think teams would tell him to do that to resurrect your act, right? Especially like remember last year, NFL Bob Stoops, Rick Neuheisel, Phil Savage, like credible people were in that league. Like if there is an infrastructure of a league like that, would just run by Oliver Luck. I don't know if it's coming back. Who knows? With Corona carrying into 2021, it might be a year away, but he might have to take a step like that to even sniff it. Because as we see this week, the Rams starter is a guy that played in the AAF. Like it's not really arguable. The Panthers had a guy. The Niners had a guy that started at like right tackle. You know, it's just that's probably to me his path. If I was a GM, I wouldn't touch him until he did something like that and at least showed me something.
Well, you know, like and remember this was a conversation around Johnny Manziel. It was like just go to the CFL and prove that you can, and then go to the AF and just prove to us that you can. And it never
But
worked.
he did do that. He was just bad.
Yeah. Well, yeah. But this goes back to what you always say, and this drives you nuts, and you say it all the time. Why, after a guy has played in the NFL, do we still talk about what he did in college? Like, we have new information. And now this information is information at the level at which we are scouting for, right? So we've got 2 years of this year. He started 6 games. He was a 61% passer. He threw 5 touchdowns and 7 interceptions.
Different with Johnny, though. I think Johnny had a lot more people intrigued as a talent than this guy did. So I think we hold on when that guy intrigued as a talent. Right. So if you're like
Paxton Lynch didn't have the world entranced by his talent.
I'm just going to use a random, but like the moment you come out and you were supposed to be really good and it doesn't go your way, I think we hold on longer. Like if you were kind of universally like, let's say like Saquon Barkley, I'm just using that.
Well, even how about Josh Rosen, who we'd been talking about for 3 years?
That's a great example. Like he's going to get chance. Like look, how many teams he already been on? It's like his 4th team. I bet when it's all said and done, he'll probably be on like 6 or 7. Right? Because there are going to be so many players or so many coaches and so many general managers that like, wait, we can get this guy for nothing? Yeah, bring him in. I love this guy coming out of college. And it's easy. With Dwayne, it's like, yeah, I didn't even like him. I don't want to. Why would we do that? Why wouldn't we just take this chance on this AAF guy that actually played well that they said, actually, he's made huge strides and you like him? Because you're just bringing him in as a 3rd or 4th guy. Because at the end of the day, I saw Seth Wickersham tweet this. There are 2 types of backup quarterbacks. There are therapists and there are threateners. And a threatener to me is usually a young guy that's been drafted that's sitting behind, right? That's kind of clear. And maybe, I wouldn't even call Fitzpatrick a threatener because his situation's kind of set. But there are a large percentage of guys that I would call therapists. That AKA the head coach really feels comfortable with and can talk to about anything, and he helps the head coach probably do stuff, or the play caller, right? And the starting quarterback, like whenever I watch Tampa Bay and I see Tom on the sideline, the guy he's always talking to is Blaine Gabbert. I see Blaine, and clearly, say what you want, Blaine is probably awful. If he had to play in a game, it would not go well. Guys like him, right?
We're on year 10 of Chase Daniel as an NFL backup. We saw him.
Well, isn't he a great example of?
He is.
I have friends of the Bears. He's not a good player. You know what he is? People love the guy. And here's the reality. I always see this when backup quarterback comes in on like social media. It's like, I can't believe this guy's in the league. Guys, the moment like if Tim Boyle has to play, the Packers season is over. If Russell Wilson goes down and Geno Smith comes in, it's a wrap. If Brady goes down, like it's the sport is if that guy has to play, it doesn't matter.
Well,
like,
yeah, to me, the way to view that position is not, can this guy win us 6 games? It's, can this guy run the offense for a game if we run the rock and play defense that we can bide a week or 2 until Aaron Rodgers or whoever comes back. That's what.
Ideally, that guy never has to play, and he does everything I need for the backup quarterback that never has to play to do, right? Whether that's run scout team, whether it's do the projects, whatever it is in that organization, you can be Chase Daniels, you can be Blaine Gabbert, who is not an NFL quarterback. I mean, technically he is, like his job description, but the moment he comes in the game, he doesn't take Haberman or Middlecoff or Bill Parcells. My mom could be like, God, this guy's really bad. Because they are. Because there aren't 32 of them.
But John,
that's where Dwayne Haskins, he's clearly not one of the 32. I don't think that 33 to 64, that's going to be his problem. People don't like him.
The primary responsibility is to be trustworthy. That's what we're saying, right? The backup quarterback, the coach has to trust him, and the starting quarterback has to trust him. I heard a story this year of a starting quarterback who got the team to activate the practice squad quarterback because he trusted him more than the backup quarterback for a game, because he wanted him on the sideline because he didn't trust the backup to help him out during the game with what he's seeing.
I would imagine stuff like that happens a decent amount, and obviously that would never get out, right? I mean, those are
not they're Haberman tells.
But I just mean the stories of the true stories inside with that position. There's a reason those guys always have a pen and paper and a headset on and right next to the coach. Like, they do play a role, or always the therapist on the sideline. Dwayne Haskins can't even, do the basic things right. How's he going to help anyone out?
For Alex Smith.
I know.
Who's made a career out of doing it and then becoming a starting quarterback again.
It's pretty unheard of, guy, to be the 15th pick and less than 2 years later to get cut. I would imagine if we did a study, that doesn't happen very often.
I don't think
for non, felony charges.
Right. Paxton would be one. Paxton was 2 and done, I think, right?
Yeah. He was a little bit later
he was late
pick.
20. He was like 26.
But still, that's bad.
I guess Drew Lock did go in the second round of this draft.
Yeah.
If you're looking for Daniel Jones, the future star quarterbacks of this class.